Whoa, whoa, whoa. Slow down a minute there, Chief. Vic held his hands out as if this would stop Ploopaloo from moving anywhere. You think we're just going to do exactly what? You want us to get up there and inside of those? I do not think I understand your question fully. I am informing you that to be able to move around my planet efficiently, you will need to use alternate methods. Your physiology is compatible with my own. Your thoughts are easily accessed and processed, just as my own. Each being on this planet is a piece of me. For me to move about, I simply enter any being I choose, and I am there. Just like this guard. We are one. I am offering you to be part of me, so that you may utilize part of me to better perform the tasks you need to. Joey listened but had trouble believing what he was hearing. For the first time, he was probably more excited about the possibility than any of the others. You mean, we'll get inside of the guards and we'll be able to control it? I think you understand my proposal, Blue Ploopanu said. No way! There has to be a different way. I am not getting inside one of those things. Vic crossed his arms, pursed his lips, and shook his head. Vic, this is going to be awesome! It'll be like being inside a giant battle bot. Kid, your idea of awesome and mine are two totally different things. June put her hand on Vic's shoulder. We don't have a choice. If you'd rather wait here while we go rescue the ship, you're more than welcome to sit this one out. Does anyone else have any objections? Eep, 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 Argmon barked. I have no idea what those two just said, but I'm on board. I've been inside tanks and Humvees. I guess this will be kind of like the same thing. Lou shouldered his weapon. June moved over to stand by Joey and put her arm around his waist. Ploopanu, is it all right if Vic waits here? If the rest of you have had your fill of fuel and water, then I suggest we move. We haven't much time. Ploopanu turned and headed toward the guard he'd come out of. The other guards all moved toward the sled. Joey had butterflies in his stomach. It was like the first time June had allowed him to fly the Iron Butterfly. This was different, though. On the Iron Butterfly, he was isolated in the middle of space, and it didn't even feel like they'd been moving. I can't believe you're not going to try this one, Vic. This is going to be like Johnny Sacco and his flying robot, except we'll be inside. Well, it's not a robot, and there aren't any weapons or giant monsters to fight, but it'll be like we're giants. Think again, kid. It'll be like we're normal. Everything around here is gigantic, and we're the small ones. You've got to go with us. Joey, we don't have time to argue with him. Leave him be. We'll go get the ship back, save the planet, and then we can be on our way. If he wants to sit this one out, then let him. The guards lined up along the side of the sled, towering over them. Each took a place in front of their guard. Only Lou looked nervous. You will be able to hear me and communicate with each other with your thoughts, just like you will be able to control the guard with your thoughts. Ploopanu's voice came from all over, but Joey could hear it best from the guard directly in front of him. You will still be able to breathe. It will just feel strange. Hold on a minute, Ploo. Vic took his place in front of the guard Ploopanu was going to enter. These guys will never get the job done without me. Very well. All of you, prepare. A thick tentacle reached out from each of the giant blob guards. Joey had thoughts of the thin tentacles that had wrapped him up and brought him to this future. That had been scary, as he had no idea what to expect. Even though this time he was unsure of what would happen, he could see where he was going and knew what was happening. He couldn't help but smile. It felt as if someone was pushing him into a pool filled with thick jello. The thick skin eventually gave way and he popped into the viscous interior of the guard. At first he gasped for breath, but as soon as the skin layer pulled over him, he felt warm fluid fill his lungs. Instinctively he coughed and took another breath. He thought he was drowning and grabbed for his throat. This didn't feel right. Ploopanu had said they'd be able to breathe. Joey, calm down. Just relax. This is wonderful. Trust her, kid. I don't know what I was afraid of. This isn't so bad. Joey kicked his feet and tried to swim with his arms, but no matter what direction he tried to swim, he moved higher and higher into the guard's body. Relax, Joey. Take a long, deep breath. It's not so bad. It feels weird, but wonderful at the same time. Joey tried to spit out the fluid in his lungs, then took 3 long, deep breaths. This not only relaxed him, but allowed him to get used to the feeling of fluid moving in and out of his lungs. didn't feel right. He thought it would be more like breathing air or even a thin fluid. I think I'm getting the hang of this. Each of you take a moment to try using your new bodies. Just remember, if you think it, the blob will perform the task. It will also be able to assist you with whatever you are seeing and how things work, so that you will be able to function better. Hey, Vic, look at this! Lou had adapted quickly to his guard body and spun his spear around. The Marine hadn't even been in this new reality for a day, and already he felt more at home than Joey did after the first few months. He wanted to hate Lou, but they were the last people from Earth. How could he hate him? Even Vic and June were soon moving about, and Dexter and Argmon had modified their guard bodies to have extra limbs. Come on, Joey, don't just stand there. You've got to give this thing a run. This is amazing! June sounded so happy. He tried not to focus on the ground. Sure, he was suspended inside a giant gummy bear, but he couldn't help but think of how much it would hurt to fall that far. Of course, that wasn't going to happen. Plu wouldn't allow that to happen. If any of them got hurt, how were they going to save the planet? How would they get out of the planet? All he had to do was take a few deep breaths and just relax. It was hard with fluid coming in and out of your lungs. It was enough work to breathe the heavy air inside the Dyson sphere. Breathing liquid was akin to running underwater. He thought about turning around, and the blob turned around to face the others. He raised his hand, and the guard's hand rose. He looked up to the ceiling, now much closer, and the eyes rose to look up. He could see past the eyes, through the body, and all his surroundings. Something wasn't right about all this, and he couldn't quite put his finger on it. How are you doing over there, kid? Getting the hang of it? That was it. He didn't hear the others' voices. He could hear sounds of the fluid rushing in and out of his lungs, but he didn't hear the others talking. He just had voices inside his head. Joey opened his mouth to say something, but only spit out liquid. He strained to think, I'm fine, this isn't natural. We're all getting used to it, just hurry up. That sheriff has my ship and I want it back pronto. Vic's blob raised a hand and gave a thumbs up. The thought of a smile came to his mind, and he could see a thick skin under the eyes take shape of a smile. Vic laughed. All of you seem to have a basic understanding of what is required to move around. Once we are aboard the ship, you will feel the mental link more strongly with your host. It will guide you and help your understanding of the controls. Why didn't you just send out one of your ships to recapture ours? Joey asked. I did, Joey Privosky. Unfortunately, we do not fully understand how to capture those that wish to avoid capture. When you first came in, it was easy enough as you did not know where you were going, or that you would be captured, and transport you. This Sheriff Beeford T. Justice does not wish to be caught, and therefore is finding it easy to avoid us with his smaller crafts. Joey nodded his head, and the blob guard did the same, causing Joey's view to jitter and make him feel a little sick. He stopped the blob from moving around. That helped. There are ships, Victor Gallegos, from what I was able to discern from your mind. This will be easier to accomplish with multiple vehicles. We will need to be partnered off. Fine. Argmon, you take Dexter. June, you come with me. Joey, take Lou. Wait a minute. Why don't I go with Joey? June asked. We don't have time for this. I have a plan. Trust me. Plu, where are you going? I shall accompany you, Victor Gallegos. I wish to monitor your progress, and feel it will be best if I accompany you. The only blob without a visible resident led the group out of the building. Things still felt large, but being up so high, they didn't appear to be nearly as large as they had. Hey, are you right, Joey? Joey could just make out Lou Who inside his guard. Lou waved, and his guard's hand waved as well. This is so great! Wait until the guys hear about this when I get back. Lou still didn't seem to understand there was no going home. The Marine thought that the process for getting here could be reversed. Joey really couldn't blame the guy. Surely Vic hadn't had time to sit down and explain everything, or if he had, Lou didn't grasp the situation. Perhaps Lou thought this was all a dream, as Joey had when he first arrived. There were times Joey would dream of home and wake up confused about where he was. In time, Lou would begin to understand. It didn't matter what Lou thought. Joey was still upset that Lou seemed to be adjusting so quickly to being in an alien world. I am Joey. Let's worry about getting our ship back first. We'll have a lot of time to talk later. That was Joey's little way to try and get Lou to understand he wasn't going home. It didn't seem to work, as Lou rushed out, leaving Joey the last to leave the building. Outside sat 4 ships and 2 guards. The ships, much like the one that had towed them inside, were big and square. Dexter and Argmon got into one ship. June and Vic, followed by Plu, got into another. Joey didn't like being separated from June. Sure, they had a job to do, but he felt it would be better to get that done with June. He wanted to know Vic's plan for getting the ship back. Joey felt a tickle in his brain. Lou stood next to one of the 2 remaining ships, pointing at the open door. "Look! I opened the door! It was like I knew all along how to open the door!" Vic's voice came into Joey's head. "That's great, Lou. Let Joey do the flying." "Vic, is that a good idea?" "June, I told you to trust me. I have a plan." "And just when do you plan on sharing all of your wonderful plans of—" June wasn't happy about Vic's vagueness either. "Can we just get going? We don't have much time. June, you're flying." "I agree with Victor Gallegos. The scientists tell me that the star doesn't have much time. If we are to find a solution, and you need your ship to help with that finding, then we need to go now." Joey guided the blob into the ship. He readily found the depression that would hold the blob in position. He hadn't thought they would need to sit down. He barely knew how to fly the Iron Butterfly, but suddenly he knew all the controls on this alien ship. A dozen tentacles lashed out, and each inserted into a hole, and before he knew it, the ship rose into the sky to follow Vic and June. You've been listening to Hollow, V&A Shipping, Book 2, written and read by J.R. Murdoch. For more information about this production and its author, visit jrmurdoch.com. There are a lot of ways you can choose to spend your time. Thank you for choosing to spend it with me.